Hello everybody, this is Crux Weaver. I'd like to welcome you to my shitty home and to my build video. I'll be presenting you guys with my primary solo PvP build, one that I've spent the absolute most amount of time on, perfecting, tuning, trying in a variety of different PvP scenarios ranging from solo, duo, small scaling. This is the build that I used as I climbed leaderboards in my previous Emperorship and Emp run, and I've had the absolute most amount of fun on this build over any other. I originally intended on releasing maybe 2 for you guys, but this is just the one. This is my one. It's my personal opinion that the meta has led to people feeling like the Arcanist is both trash in PvP and pay to win, or people feeling confused and stuck and not really knowing what direction to go with it. I blame a lot of that on the meta and meta chasing. You know, the Arcanist is a versatile, fun class. I feel like it has a lot to offer, and even if you don't play these 2 builds the exact way I do with my exact setups, I hope that it's a solid enough foundation to maybe reinvent the Arcanist or inspire you to want to play one in a different way. You can find timestamps in the pinned comment in case you want to jump around. And before we get into it, I just want to thank everybody for your support and your interest in the build and my videos. If not for you guys, I probably wouldn't have released this or made a build video, but I'm hopeful that you guys will find some reinvigorated direction and excitement when it comes to the Arcanist. So looking at our attributes, we got 47 into mag, 17 into health. We're using the red Frothgar as the food, which in my opinion is the best mag food in the game. You get a health buff, you get mag recovery, and we're using the Atronach boon for an additional recovery. I've tried high mag pool, and I've tried high spell damage, high recovery, and this works way better on Arcanist in my opinion. We're also keeping it Vamp Stage 3. If you look here, this is a self-buff only stat sheet. So these are stats just from the buffs on the bar, not anything from the sets that we'll be using. However, in this next one, you will see what is the closest I could get to, say, a full buff. Everything should be at almost max stacks. Almost everything should be up as best I can. And you will come to see that we have 27,000 magic, 35,000 HP, 18,000 stam, and an impressive 6,800 spell damage. Looking at the gear, we're going to start with the front bar. We have the Master's Perfected Lightning Staff, sharpened with the Disease Enchant. This is going to act as a better execute moving forward in future updates. If you'd like, you could add a Berserk enchant to the front bar with the Berserk and the Destructive Touch as well. It's going to add about 1,000 spell damage. I personally prefer to run the Disease front bar and a Berserk on the back bar, and just light attack weave back bar to your front bar damage. And on that back bar, we're going to be using the Rallying Cry Ice Staff defending. A lot of you guys will be familiar, but Rallying Cry is going to give you 300 weapon and spell damage as well as some serious crit resist. This is the most OP solo set in the game. For the back bar, in my opinion, unmatched. Our next set is going to be Ravaging. Every time you attempt to reduce the target's physical or spell resistance, you gain Ravager for 5 seconds, giving you 146 weapon and spell damage, and at 4 stacks, it's doubled but can't be refreshed. This is going to give you 584 spell damage. It's not quite as much as, say, Clever Alchemist, but it works better with the class and the passives, in my opinion. We're going to end up having 3 heavy, 2 light, and 1 medium. We have a Belorg single shoulder for added weapon and spell damage, which I suppose you could substitute for any one piece if you wanted. We're going to end up having 2 impen, 3 well fitted, and 2 reinforced. The reinforced are the legs and the chest, which are heavy. Everything's going to have a tri-stat enchantment on it. Taco. Our necklace is infused mag recovery, ravaging. Our ring of ravaging is going to be bloodthirsty, the multi-infect enchant. And lastly, we have death dealers. I haven't had this the whole time. I've even just gotten this recently. Prior to this, I was using Gaze of Sithis and compensating for mag pool and damage in other areas. Or for the longest and most of that time, I was using the Mark and Ring of Majesty. Death Dealers is definitely going to be the preference. It's worth farming. but if you can't or won't, Marking is a good option too. You get solid weapon and spell damage, you get an armor buff from it. I had the most success with this. I used this the majority of the time. The major issue that you're going to run into sometimes is you're going to have to be mindful not to spam your stamina abilities, because you will run out of stam trying to break free of CCs, whereas Death Dealer is going to help increase your pools just enough to help you not really have that issue. If we look at slottables here, we have Corrupting and Purifying to keep you Vamp Stage 3. The pots that I like to use here, any detection, they don't have to be major sorcery, that just happens to be what I have. Any detection works fine, but it is a must in my opinion. Also an immovability potion, it doesn't have to be stealth detection and major intellect. I usually will get the major intellect and health recovery ones in fact, but any immovability will be fine. As we move into the skills, starting with the back bar, we have Impervious Rune Ward. This offers a serious damage shield for 1 second and then a secondary shield for 5 if the first one persists, which you can do with roll dodging or blocking. This scales off max health, as will the heal that you get for 3600 health per Crux when the shield is cast. This is something to keep in mind, the Cruxes that you have up and which abilities you're casting. Our second ability is going to be my namesake, the Crux Weaver Armor. This will give you major resolve, but applies minor breach, reducing the armor of any attacker by 2900 for 6 seconds. This will also help generate Crux. This will also be what helps you keep your Ravaging stacks up, so it's imperative that you keep it up at all times. Evolving Rune Men, this is a decent heal. It's a self heal, it's an ally heal, it's one you can aim and shoot across a great distance, and each Crux reduces the cost by 3%, so as you're spamming this to heal allies, it helps to have Crux up. Rune Guard of Freedom, this one is nice. Minor resolve, minor protection, and the first time you're damaged, the minor protection is consumed, getting a heal for almost 11,000, scaling off your max health, and you get 3,000 armor and crowd control immunity for 6 seconds. This one is incredible, but you have to keep an eye, because when that is consumed and you get that heal, you're going to need to recast or it won't be up, which means you're going to lose your minor resolve. We have Race Against Time. This is going to give you the minor force, major expedition, and snare removal. Just the speed boost alone is pretty clutch. I do love this skill. If you don't have it, don't want to use it, there are alternatives that you can run here. There's quite a few actually. Xena's Empowering Disc is the skill that I was running here while I was leveling Sigik, because you're going to get several different buffs and they're going to cling to you as well as allies for up to 10 seconds after you leave, which is pretty handy. You could additionally run like the Hunter skill here for passive damage and crit buffs and stuff like that. There's a number of options here, whatever you really want or feel comfortable with if you don't have the Sigik. The Stun, I elect not to run this. You could run it on the back bar if you want, pretty easily switch it to the front bar to finish them off. This is definitely doable. And lastly, we have Gibbering Shelter on the back bar. Very, very strong skill. It's one of the best, if not the best, defensive ults in the game in my opinion. The versatility, the amount of people that it covers and will help. You could also run Eye of the Storm, switching to your front bar, additional damage and so on. You could run the Languid Eye. I just prefer to have that on the back bar, have it just in case, and there's a number of times where it's really come in handy. Now Shock Reach we have here, and the damage isn't anything too crazy, but it's going to proc the Master Staff, and it's going to hit them with Concussed, which moving forward means minor vulnerability for 4 seconds and 15% damage if dealt again within 4 seconds. Think about that. We have Elemental Susceptibility, which is going to also reduce physical and spell resistance and also afflict them with Burning, Chilled, or Concussed. That's major and minor vulnerability and penetration per status effect from the passives. We have the Flail, which is an incredible skill. You want to start your combos with this because it adds 5% increased damage, and you want to end the combos in this because it deals up to 100% more damage with enemies less than 50% health. So it's the only real execute we have, and it's the combo starter for the increased damage. The heal, whatever, the damage is really nothing too impressive before you get to the execute range, to be honest. So if you're spamming it before that, it's going to just drain your stamina and you're going to really regret it. So it's a combo starter, stun to escape or execute. And we have recuperative treaty. This here is just going to give you major brutality, major sorcery. It'll do an additional little bit of damage per attack and give you a little bit of recovery as well. Escalating Rune Blades is the spammable. The tooltip may not necessarily look large, but you can cast this skill very quick. You can aim this very specifically and hit a single target with it. That last rune will explode and do that same amount of damage to all enemies within 8 meters, and the damage is increased by 3% per Crux you have up. It's a pretty solid spammable, and you work that in with your other abilities, and with the recovery it's actually quite a bit of pressure. The Dawnbreaker we're using for the ultimate, of course. It's going to give you the passive damage increase. It's a pretty decent ultimate. It doesn't always hit the area that you were necessarily targeting, but there isn't really a better alternative. I will use the Meteor sometimes just for fun, or the Eye sometimes just for fun, but the Dawnbreaker is the best regular use ultimate in my opinion. And I am a Breton. I feel like they have the absolute best racial passives for Magicka class or Magicka Arcanist, and this was a clear choice for me. I could definitely see a number of other racial choices being viable, just with minor adjustments being made here or there, but totally doable. Taking a look at the champion points here. On the blue bar we have Focused Mending. We have Force of Nature, further increasing our penetration, Master at Arms for direct damage, and Biting Aura for area of effect. For our red tree, we have Celerity, Pain's Refuge, Sustained by Suffering, and Boundless Vitality. And when it comes to CP substitutions, you could look at putting Fighting Finesse on your bar, which is going to increase your critical damage and healing. This might be something you think about if you're a Khajiit or if you're building into crit. You would slot that in place of Force of Nature because you're getting quite a bit of penetration from class passives and everything. And it's the only one on the bar that you would be able to sacrifice. You could also try Wrathful Strikes. This is just going to increase your overall damage and not affect your penetration, because again you would replace your penetration tree with this. I prefer it as presented because with Force of Nature that's 660 penetration per status effect. So with one status effect on an enemy, now I went from 97 pen to 10,500, and that's just one effect. So that's what I'm running, guys. That's my favorite setup, absolute favorite setup for this class. I could ramble on about playstyle and what I love to do and things like that forever, but just a few parting tips that I would leave you with would be avoid spamming Flail, avoid spamming Rune Mend. Those are going to kill your mag and stam pools. If you're not spamming those and you're using them appropriately, you'll have more than enough resources to handle quite a few people. And there are situations where I might be like spam healing to keep allies up because it's a versatile heal. And if I know I'm going to do that, I just try to do it where I'm able to kite, or I can be at the back of a group or something while I'm doing it, so that while my magic is depleted temporarily, I'm not being hard targeted and just fucking bursted down or something. Besides that, keep in mind you do get that small shield from the back bar, heavy attack ice staff. That's going to give you a little bit of magic resource return, but you get that little shield that works in conjunction with Psijic shields or Arcanist shields and roll dodge. It can buy you these 1 or 2 little seconds of time to get 1 or 2 of those Arcanist heals off and get back on the front bar and be aggressive. So besides that, guys, any questions, comments, more than welcome to submit those to me here on YouTube. Find me on PSN. Thank you once again to everybody for your attention and comments and stuff over the last few months, and I appreciate you checking out the video. If you end up liking the build, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. I appreciate you guys all very much, and I'll see you out there.